I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Shout out to our sponsors. Major Team Mortgage, Omaha Laser Dentistry, Exclusively Eye Care, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avier Wealth Management, and Apex Men's Clinic. We appreciate their support.
Hey Gloom listeners, it's the Plague. Question for you, are you ready to perform at your peak? Well, our man Pea Soup and the Apex Men's Clinic is here to help you achieve optimal health. Whether it's managing general health concerns, recovering from injuries, or optimizing your hormones, they have you covered. Their comprehensive services include testosterone replacement therapy, cutting-edge treatments, and personalized care plans tailored just for you. At Apex Men's Clinic, you're not just another number. Their expert team is dedicated to helping you feel your best. Visit apexmensclinic.com today to schedule a free consultation. At Apex Men's Clinic, it's men's health done right.
Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. This is awesome. This is the second interview in our studio in downtown Elkhorn, calling it the Nomad. This is a really cool place if you haven't been down here. It's a little hot, so I'm hoping Armando is listening and can get us some air conditioning, but we'll be all right. My man may have to take off his sweatshirt by the time we're done here, but yeah, I'm excited. I got our man Anonymous here with me, and man, you know what I appreciate about you? As we were talking before the show, you're just really open. You know, you come to conversation or just life. I think you could clarify for us as we get going, but just you're ready to talk about deeper stuff. You don't mind getting into it, and so I love that.
Yeah,
excited to have you here. Where we like to start is just EH story, first workout. Give us the juicy details.
Let's do it
for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoy being honest and open with people. I think that relationships in life are a lot better when you're able to do that. And honestly, the thing that I enjoy most about F3 is that aspect, is how genuine everyone is when you show up every day. You know, it's immediate, I think, is the biggest thing that I was thrown back by, was how quickly folks are open with you, how welcoming they are. And so my EH story, I was, I'll call it recruited for a little bit, but not too bad. I moved back to Omaha after 10 years in Minneapolis in 2022.
Okay.
And 10 years away was enough to not have as close of relationships with some of the folks that lived here, or
Sure.
maybe some of the more fringe relationships that went away, and conversations became less frequent. And so I didn't know I needed something else in my life from a relationship, or especially, you know, kind of a friendship or a male relationship standpoint. And that's something that F3 gave me with right off the bat. So my EH, I was at Wild Kingdom, pregame. Mrs. B and Lance all kind of talked to me throughout the 3 months leading up to that. And so I went in and I knew a little bit about it, but not much, just enough to feel okay with it, but not enough to where I was kind of blown away by a few things throughout the process. So I went to Wild Kingdom. It was Crowdsource's queue, and he had a scavenger hunt built out to look for Muff's jorts.
Nice.
So it was not a normal beatdown.
What a weird group.
Oh, yeah.
How did they get into this?
Yeah, it was chaos. And obviously knowing Crowdsource now, it was so much fun. Yeah. And even at the time I was like, what did I sign up for? What am I doing? It didn't even necessarily feel like a workout, but I was gassed from the jump. But it was great. I didn't know that I needed that freeing of an environment. I am a pretty open person, but it was one that I felt even more comfortable being open with strangers or, folks that I didn't know before. So that was really cool, was being exposed to that. And, I'm not sure how many FNGs would have been like, oh yeah, I'm coming back the next day, but I was back and kind of hooked from the beginning. So especially growing up in Omaha and having some exposure to friendships or relationships like that can be silly and really focused on that, but also provide a level of honesty and openness amongst men is a pretty unique situation.
For sure. I did not go to that queue, but I would. That sounds amazing. You were finding Muff's shorts?
Jorts.
Oh,
Jorts.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was working out apparently the prior week and left them there. Which that happens a lot. You lose your clothes doing these workouts a bunch. So,
yeah. If you're listening, you're not an F3. One of our core principles is you have to wear jorts.
Yes.
That is awesome. I hear jorts are coming back.
Yeah, I think so. Muffs, they definitely are.
So talk me through. Did you know other guys that were there when you showed up?
I only knew pregame Lance and Mrs. B.
Okay.
I knew that some other high school friends of mine had dabbled in it or had gone into it, but they weren't there. And it's funny because I went to coffee that day, and my group of friends that I knew beforehand weren't able to go, and so I was coffee with only the rest of the
guys.
group. So it was a great opportunity to jump straight into just getting to know people. Honestly, understanding what F3 was about more so, because you get a lot from the workouts, but that's probably 10% of what F3 has to offer. So it was a really valuable time going to that coffee. Feeling, I think, comfortably nervous on talking to some new folks, because especially with the pandemic, I work from home. My interaction with adults is very limited these days. So having kind of a kickstart into that, and it's just such an open environment at coffee where you can talk about nothing, talk about the deepest thing, and it's very comfortable either way. So that was a lot of fun. The Ketchup was there. It was his site at the time.
Oh yeah.
I remember talking to Kickstand and Grizz were there. Just a good group of Southwest guys that really helped me know that I wanted to keep coming back.
Well, so you go to this workout. Did you find the jorts? I guess that's a key question here.
Crowdsource will definitely have to jump in. I can't remember if we were looking for them or if it was just messing around. We did find them.
Okay.
But we also knew where they were beforehand. So I think that's cheating.
That's awesome. So tell me, so you go to this workout, you get in the circle, and what do you remember what you said that landed with the nickname Anonymous? I do.
I knew that I had to go in the middle and talk about myself. But I had not prepared anything or done anything other than just think about it. And so I go in and somebody's talking about social media. And so I said, well, first things first, is I don't have any social media. And it was within seconds, somebody threw out Anonymous. And I think I spoke for 3 to 5 more minutes about my actual life. And everyone was friendly enough to keep that name with me. So
I love it. Is then no social media sort of a decision just to reduce distraction? Or what?
I think, and it's funny, there's so many unique people in F3, but you hear very similar stories. So I ruminate a lot. I have a lot of anxiety in my life. And so I think that that played a role in how I kind of approach everything in life. And so that was a big part of that for me.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've had some guys ask, like, can we post all the stuff that's on Twitter into Slack or what, and I know over the years we've kind of tried to figure that out. You get a guy who's either queuing or a site queue that isn't on Twitter, and it sort of becomes like how do you do a pre-blast without being on there? But we figured it out.
Oh yeah, the site queues are good about that too, sending it out for people. So there's plenty of people that don't have Twitter or terrible at Twitter, and the site queue will pick you up. So no, it's very much one of those where having that type of mindset. I think this is a very freeing group to join because you can get stuff off of your chest quickly, talk about it, and it was one where the workouts and the time afterwards fit it very well.
So you start this workout group, you get a pretty cool name, I guess. something you said earlier. Take us back. So you're from Omaha, went to Creighton Prep. You moved. Were you working in Minneapolis, or I guess talk us through that? What were you doing up there, and what made you come back?
Yeah, we moved out of Omaha just to have some time in a different city, and Minneapolis was a great spot because my wife actually got a job up there, so
Mm.
it gave us a reason to move. And then the lifestyle up there matched kind of what we were doing, what we wanted to do. So very active, the city, a lot of stuff to do. So that's why we moved out there, and then we had a child, and that brought us back to Omaha, both being from here.
And then everything changes.
Yeah,
Everything changes.
so we moved back in 2022.
Okay. And so talk me a little bit through this. So you went to uh like all male high school. When you came to F3, did it kind of bring back some of those like
Absolutely. Yeah,
the guys kind of
it's funny because it's one of those things where I have friendships outside of F3, obviously, and you have friends in life, but you don't necessarily know what each friendship is bringing you at the time, per se. So one of the things that I didn't realize I was missing from my life is some of those open and honest conversations with men.
yeah.
You can get that stuff in therapy or with your spouse or any of those types of things. So having the ability to have friendships where I could talk about my feelings along with being able to work out was a big deal for me, and it's something that I do remember from high school, going to a school where it was all boys, and one of the biggest tenets of what we were taught there was about service and that type of thing, which is big in F3 as well. So it's been really nice to get back in to those types of relationships where not necessarily finding 20 new best friends, but finding 20 people that I can have a really valuable relationship and conversation with.
Sure.
And in reality, it's probably closer to 200 with how open and honest all the F3 folks are. So
it's
been
crazy,
cool.
right? I that's one of my favorite things about F3 is because I'm not I don't watch sports. I'm not, like it. And so then when I get together with guys, I'm like immediately like, how's your marriage? What's your, guys are sort of like, well, wait a minute, what about the game or whatever? But it is cool to be able to know like you can get out there and be with really a huge group of guys, right? Depending on where you go.
Yeah.
So you like the honest conversation, which I would agree. I think that's one of the best parts about F3. Do you think, like how hard was it for you to get into the group and then like start that? Did you kind of have to test the waters a little bit, or were you just like, okay, here I am, let's go?
Yeah.
Like you saw it on day one, or talk us through that.
One of the things that's kind of fun about F3 is seeing that you can bring whatever mentality and whatever goal set you want to the group, and they'll help you with whatever that is. So that was interesting for me, is that I realized that I didn't think enough about what I actually wanted out of F3 when I first started. So I was just showing up, having fun, working out, getting in some shape, and doing it for that reason. But I think as I went more often and went to coffee and did those things, that's when I started to think about it differently. And the biggest difference is that historically I've been a runner.
Oh yeah.
My working out is just going for a run. And I don't do much else, or I didn't do much else. So to add, a version of weightlifting and a version of like actual physical stuff
body weight
was extremely hard at the beginning. It still is, and depending on the workout. But that's the piece from a workout perspective that I really appreciated, is it did that for me in a fun way, which is something that I never had. I hate going to gyms. I hate lifting weights, to be honest. I think it shows, but it's one of those where you can get that type of workout in a way that, like this morning, Cherry Garcia's got a bunch of funny, Cinco de Mayo names for his reps, and we're doing a bunch of stuff, and it's a blast. So just being able to get more out of myself and push myself in ways that I would have never even tried, and doing it while having fun is something that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really an interesting. It's so hard to explain to people that aren't in it, but it's like this place where you can push yourself as hard as you want to go, right? You can get a killer workout, even if maybe the thing the guy planned isn't that hard, right? You can still just go faster or do more reps or whatever, but then you also can have a ton of fun. And that was hard for me at the beginning. I struggle having fun. That's like working on it. But it's something that, like, if you got the right guys around you or have the right conversation or just guys kind of, poking you a little bit. I remember Griswold was a guy that was, helped me improve how I give hugs. And that was kind of this funny thing.
It's a good lesson to have. Yeah.
For a long time. But so fitness wise, how are you doing? Like, so you mentioned you were a runner. Did you play sports in high school?
I did. Not necessarily, I wasn't like a star athlete by any means, but basketball, cross country, and some track too.
So was it ever really about the like fitness? You didn't come into it thinking like, I need to lose a bunch of weight or
No.
I'm trying to gain.
No, it was I needed an avenue for it. Before, when COVID hit, I spent about a year and a half with hip issues, IT band issues, and I never took the time to heal or actually view it that way. So I would rest for a month and then just go right back out and hurt myself again, all that stuff. So an aspect of F3 that was different is that because it's a formal type setting, even though it's not,
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to not have to run 8 miles or 6 miles, so I could kind of contain myself there, but I would be pushing myself in ways that I've never pushed myself before. Whether it be, doing a Murph.
Yeah.
Like, that was ridiculous the first time that I tried that. Yeah. And now it's not that bad. So it's one of those things that I've gotten so much better about, being balanced in my workout life.
Sure.
And I never even thought that was going to be an option, which it's exciting because as I get older, as any of us get older, it becomes harder to put miles on the knees and miles on the body. So having outlets to do other physical stuff that can keep me in shape is huge.
Yeah, man, the Murph is such a good, it's almost like a physical test. Every time I do a Murph, it's always hard. Like I've never gotten to the point with a Murph where it's like, oh, this is easy now. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. It just, so I don't know. Mondays is not a common day for me to post. And so when I do go do a Murph, it just like, man, this is, every time you do it, even if you can do all the pull-ups and everything, it sucks.
I modify those pull-ups.
Yeah, modify is necessary, right? What about, so IT band, hip issues, running? You feel like you're in good shape now? You feel like you're back to?
Yeah, I'm getting back to it. I having the flag for a year, I really wanted to make an effort to be out even on my non site Q days. And so after the flag pass, I had a couple of weeks of sort of dialing it back, and it's funny, I didn't realize I needed it, and now I'm getting back into it. So the last couple of weeks have been a lot better for me. But that's another thing that I appreciate is, F3 is always here. So taking that break, I didn't need it, but it was kind of nice to have that break. And now I'm jumping back into it, and I'm excited again. The early wake ups are always hard for me, but this morning I was pumped to go, and it's definitely fun every time. And I think that's unique for me too, is I'm not a morning person.
Oh, interesting.
I don't ever plan to be.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Once you wake up and get used to it, even if you're not going every single day, when you get up and you're excited to see the people that you're going to see, and you get up and you're excited about coffee, and you get up and you start to be excited about the workouts a little bit sometimes too, it makes it a lot easier. And then working out in general just becomes.
So what time do you get up on a non F3 day? Like, do you sleep in, or?
I would, if I didn't have a kid, it would be probably 10, 11. Yeah. No, but I'll sleep in until 7:30 if I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So how'd you overcome that? Because that's what we hear when we're EH guys.
Just
like, oh, it's too early.
You just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
You just do it. Yeah. Because even that first day, it's so early, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You're just there. And then you hear people talk, and you start talking, and you forget about what time it is very, very quickly. And then as soon as you're in the workout, you're good to go. And then you just drink more coffee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, drink more coffee. And then there is just, I always love, and call it pride or ego, but just the feeling like you get to work or you get to start your day and you've already done so much.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you get a pre-run in and you're just, or maybe a Smurf, and you're like, man, I've already got, 5 miles in, and 400 push-ups or whatever.
It is. And it's funny too, because you think you'd be more tired by going to work out, but the amount of energy that I gain, like on the days that I go, like I'm a better father, I'm a better husband.
Yeah.
I keep up on my to-do list, and it's amazing how much more organized my life tends to be on my F3 days.
For sure. The other thing we'd like to kind of segue in here into the second F, like fellowship piece. So you came in, you knew a few guys. Did you know there's quite a few prep guys? I feel like Birdman, and I know I'm forgetting a long list of guys. But did you eventually meet all of those guys, or kind of reconnect with some of those guys?
I've seen a lot of them are a little bit older than us.
Birdman's old. He's like almost respect age.
Yeah. But it was I had noticed them obviously from school, and then all the guys my age. So seeing them, it's cool. You reconnect with that group plus all the new folks. So it's been nice. Like growing up in Omaha, you obviously know you see people around. So it's the same thing with F3, seeing those faces, and even somebody like you that I didn't necessarily hang out with in high school,
right?
But knew of and saw around. So getting to know people like that I was exposed to but never got to actually meet is really fun.
F3 is a really cool place because I went to West Side, right? Anonymous went to Prep, and we didn't like those two high schools are like just this constant rivalry. But in a group like F3, you just get to know guys as other guys, and so that's been really cool. I think all the guys that I met from Prep, it turns out, are good guys. So I don't know. It's kind of this funny, like if you're in high school, those rivalries just kind of get you. But and I don't know what parts of my high school me that you heard of or knew, but I swear I'm a better person now.
It is funny. You think that high school is the end all be all, and then grow up a little bit. And there's a lot more. Yeah.
What? So you started getting to know guys in the group. Talk me through like, because you mentioned you like deep conversations, and so like Q source and coffee, or how did you bring up some of those things that were on your mind?
Yeah, the invitations are a huge part of it, especially for F&Gs that maybe aren't outgoing. So my first time there, I think was another F&G that day, or at least somebody newer.
Yeah.
And so hearing them talk about what they were going to do that week, when the announcements came at the CNOT time, and hearing people talk about convergences and all those things, it was really, I knew that I wanted to come back.
Yeah.
And hearing that even just the first week of, all right, well, it sounds like there's a lot more to this.
Sure.
It was sort of eye-opening. And then the invites just started coming, where Kickstand was very outgoing and very big on my F3 journey, and he's not gonna take no. So when he's asking about me becoming Q, it was, well, when's it gonna happen? How's it gonna be? It wasn't yes or no. And so the same thing, honestly, with coffee. I started going to Mission Forge, which is down the street from me, and I was driving past it to go to other sites with my old high school friends, and finally found out about Mission Forge, started going there, and that's when I really started to go to coffee at a singular place more often. Which only helps build those relationships when you're seeing those guys more often. And that was my start to the second F, was really going to coffee and making an effort to have that be almost as important as the beatdown. And once you get to know guys, and once you hear about all the stuff that other people are doing, it's so funny how, I'm running this half marathon, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's 50 F3 guys running this half marathon. There's 50 F3 guys doing this. There's 100 going to conversions, 200 now. And so you just start getting looped into the second F workout stuff or coffee. And then that led to, oh, you guys do happy hours. You go to lunch. And I started doing more of that, especially with the South O group. And then obviously I hang out with the friends that I had before F3. And we talk about F3 quite a bit now too, since about half of us are in it. Yeah. So it's the second F part is something that even without effort, I was really impressed with how it just stuck in my life and became a part of my life. It's still probably not as big as I would like it to be. But that's okay. That's what I enjoy about it too, is you can ebb and flow with the effort, and the guys will always be here.
What do you think you mean when you say that? Like, it's not, the second F is not as big. Is that like you would you'd like to be? Are you in a shield lock? I guess would be a question.
No shield lock. So I think it's more having some of those official type things like a shield lock or more of an accountability group. We have a good accountability group. So sorry for those guys if I'm making you feel like we don't, but it's still not one that's like an official F3 type accountability thing. Yeah. So it's more just, are you showing up today? Are we showing up today? Type deal. But I think that's where taking that next step of not only having that, but giving back on some of the second F stuff. Cause that's, seeing people like a Grizz or like a kickstand, like barbed wire that show up for others every day too. That's the next step that I've always, my leadership style is leading by example, but it's something I do see that I can be more vocal on some of that stuff. So that's where from a second F perspective, I'd like to be more vocal, be as welcoming to some of those F and Gs or even just newer folks that a lot of the guys work to me.
It's so tough with young kids, right? Because it's like you see all these guys doing really cool stuff and you're like, well, I want to do that. But the reality is like at least for me, the energy, time, attention that my and my kids need from me right now is like exponential. And so then I have to sacrifice some of those other things. And my hope is that there's a season later in life where I'll get to participate more in those. But I also I think the struggle is like, how valuable a shield lock and even a whetstone are in the midst of the chaos of having a young family. So it's like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah. And it's one that even as somebody who would openly say that I don't do as much second F and certainly not as much third F as I probably would like to. That's what I do like about F3 is you can take pieces of it. So you mentioned Q-source. Mm-hmm. I've been to a handful of those and a lot of them, even when it can be as rigid in terms of we're going to read the entire passage and go through it line by line, or just, hey, we're going to have a conversation about what the topic was. In all of those, it's been a great conversation with guys to learn more, not only about their past, but just what they care about in life beyond the surface level sports things or stuff like that. So that, exposing myself to more Q-source sites is definitely something that I need to do more of. I was talking with T-Ball and Bambi a couple weeks ago about, how we go about implementing Q-source and maybe a site that doesn't have it. And so it's fun that those options are all on the table for me. And I know just like F3 in general, it's just a matter of making that decision, making that leap. And as soon as I do that, all the guys are here for me. So
yeah, I love it. And I do think that's the beauty of it, right? Is all of these opportunities are there. And then your life, you kind of go through the flux, right? Of whatever is pulling you in different directions. And when you're ready, right, you'll be able to find a Q-source site or find some guys doing a Bible study or whatever pick your sort of flavor, whatever you want to get into.
Yep.
What so talk to me about your family. So you're married. Did you and your wife meet here in town?
We are both from Omaha, but she went to Lincoln, I went to Kansas, and we didn't actually know each other until after college.
Okay.
Two of our good friends got married, and I was his friend in high school and she was her friend in college. So
nice.
That's how we met. And yeah, we just had a son who's about to turn 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So and honestly, F3, the initial thing that it offered me was a way to work out with an infant.
Oh yeah.
It is
sure.
impossible to find the time in the afternoon or evening when that happens. So, that was another reason why waking up was so easy. It was like, it's my family situation.
You might have already been awake.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Are you gonna have more? You think you'll have more kids, or you don't know?
Don't know. But yeah, it's been awesome so far. So I know that.
Yeah, F3 for me it's given me a place to, and I can say this because I don't think my wife ever listens to this, but like, it's given me a place to vent about my kids because I struggle, especially when they're really little. I'm sort of like, man, they're more selfish than I am.
Yeah.
And, when they're like, especially the babies, right? We've got 9, 3, and 6 months, and it's sort of like we are just in it, and so to have a place to go and just run and maybe you don't even talk about your family, but just to talk about other stuff, and not be in the mess of it. But what's your wife think of F3? Is she supportive or?
She is, yeah. We both have specific thoughts on religion or things like that. But no, I think that's, like I mentioned earlier, who I am as a husband and a father
Mm-hmm.
after coming to F3 is different than who I was. I would say that I have a much more balanced approach to life, and that's one of the things that I think helps me, especially when it comes to being a father, is having that perspective. And to your point, having a place where I can go to talk about parenting things, to talk about stuff that, and get advice from a person who's either recently gone through it, who went through it 20 years ago. And so it's really neat. Obviously most of my friends or friendships outside of F3 are very much in a specific age range.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've loved is that I get to meet people like Terry Garcia, Scandal, Wait Time, all the Chicklets, a lot of these guys that, whether or not they know it, have led by example in how they show up every day. You see somebody like Brad Pitt showing up and just the strongest, most fit guy in the group at it's almost 70 years old. And it's inspiring. But I think the piece that I didn't realize until I probably thought about it for this podcast was how much those people influenced my parenting, influenced my work life, influenced my personal life outside of F3. And so I think taking those perspectives and taking some of those conversations and then applying them to my life has really helped offer me some, not necessarily even solutions, but just the ability to get some stuff off my chest and in a very healthy way that isn't drugs, using alcohol, those types of things. So that's been a big help for me, especially as somebody who's been sober from alcohol for 5 years now. That's a big piece of it, is finding things in my life that can excite me or fill my cup, if you will, that aren't that. And F3 offers that because of the support in the other parts of my life, where if it was just a workout, I would have quit by now. Easily.
It would have been a phase.
Super fast. So it's one of those things that the people that are in it, and honestly the principles that support it, are the reason why I keep coming back. So I don't have to pay for it.
It is nice that it's free. You imagine how much you would if you paid per workout or a monthly fee. I don't know. I mean, it's just the cost of gear, right? It's essentially
But even just on a small level, people in Nebraska, I found, don't go outside very, especially in the wintertime. So having lived in Minneapolis for 10 years and seeing that you can go outside even when it's way worse weather than this, it's been cool to find a group that everyone is, for the most part, okay being outside no matter what it is, working out in the snow. Those are the best stories. Those workouts where you're like, this is ridiculous, but it's just awesome because there's still 15 of you out there just becoming better, working hard, laughing, just having a good time. So that's been that's why I think F3 has stuck with me, is that it's offered me so much more outside of the physical.
That's super cool. And I cannot stand the rain. I would rather have snow than rain any day, but some of my best F3 stories are like mornings in the rain where it's just downpouring and we went to coffee one time. We canceled the workout at Badger Point because it was raining, and then we're sitting in the Cubby's gas station having coffee, and like everybody's phone went off. It was like a tornado warning, and it was sort of like, I guess we should go home now. I don't know.
No, those are awesome. I went to Whetstone 2 months ago, and barbed wire was leading, and I mean it probably rained 2 inches during the workout.
Oh yeah,
but it was a blast. We were running on the track, just soaking wet. Nobody cared. You're just having fun, and then everybody still went to coffee afterwards.
I always laugh and think like, these are the things my kids would be jealous of, right? Because I'm always telling them like, no, you can't go out and run around in the rain, right? But I can.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know why, but you mentioned some guys, and maybe it's because they're older than you, but I would be curious, like when you're thinking about those guys that have sort of helped you along the way in terms of parenting or leadership, is it their COTs or just conversation or combo, or what do you think it is about those guys that kind of helps you in your life?
The COTs are eye-opening sometimes because especially if you talk to somebody solely about just working out
Mhm.
and then they hit you with a very powerful CNOT. It's those are usually the ones that stick with you because it's somebody that you don't hear those types of things from, and then they bring out something very personal to them, and those are always powerful. It's still got to be the coffee though, when you can get more into the CNOT type stuff.
Yeah.
But for 10 minutes rather than 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Got it.
And you can kind of go back and forth on it. So I know that reruns are great too.
Yeah.
That's been that might be the biggest one for me is those longer runs. I know that you and I have gone on some runs, and those are the times that we've talked. You know, I knew barbed wire a tiny bit before we were psych Qs together. And after running with him for almost a year, amazing how much better I know him, and I feel like I know him now. And it's cool, you know, seeing him out there. It's almost like a big brother being out there. So I would say there's people like that haven't necessarily talked specifically about like, hey, here's this situation with my son that I can't handle or something like that.
Right.
There's some of that, but it's really just about being able to ask questions on how did you handle this part? Or what did you do with this part of life? Or and just get more opinions from somebody that I really respect and trust. Because I think there's a lot of value in how honest the people are
For sure.
in F3 that you know you're going to get their real answer.
Yeah.
And you get to know these people that you can trust that the answer is not only honest, but it's an experience that they went through, and you can apply it to your own life. So the age range and the diversity of the people in the group is pretty cool too for Omaha, where you get exposure to stuff that you don't necessarily get when you just are going to the same schools or the same places.
You know what's so cool too is just as you're thinking about so you have a son, right? So I don't know if you've thought of this, but like at some point you'll get to introduce him to the group and give him a nickname, and then now he has this, you know, sort of group of guys. And I think for me it's like even the guy that doesn't ever give advice but just says, oh yeah, we went through that too.
Yep.
That alone, just like helping me realize it's not, the problem's not unique to me. It's not unique to my kids or my family. It's just like kind of a part of a season that we're in. Just sort of lifts this weight off, right? Because you sort of just realize like, oh, okay, it's normal, right? Whatever we're going through.
Yeah. One thing I enjoy too is talking to guys that I think I'm very different than.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think and we have very different backgrounds and we just like different things.
Yeah.
And the commonalities, once we start talking about stuff beyond surface level, is unbelievable. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, you have something in common with all these people. And that's another thing is, especially in our current world environment, it's really great to have a group where we have people with very, very different beliefs and we all get along. Yeah. I can't think of a single F3 situation right now where there's like fighting or any of that stuff. People come with very different mindsets, and we can still talk about touchy subjects or things like that, but we all respect each other, and we can all come out of that honestly better. I think that my ability to appreciate other perspectives is a lot higher than it was before this group. And also my willingness to give my opinion on things that I maybe would have been scared of before, of like, I don't know if this matches what they think.
Right.
But the reality is that they want to hear a different perspective. Right. And so I think being in a group and talking with people that are in the same boat and are open-minded has been very cool for me too.
Yeah. I just heard a little Minnesota accent when you boat there, so that's interesting to me. You picked that up a little bit.
I don't know. That's not on purpose.
Okay.
I'll have to listen back and see how it goes.
I have some family up in North Dakota, you know. So anyway, that's funny to me when you said boat. I for some reason I heard the long O. You know, so one of the things, and you don't have to go here if you don't want to, but you and I share a mutual friend that took his life. A guy, and I don't know, he was a friend of my wife and I's, and then I think maybe you went to high school with him, but you've also made a couple comments about like anxiety or maybe the mental battle. Talk me through that. Like, I don't know. Would just be curious to hear your experience, and then would love to hear like how does maybe F3 help come alongside a guy that's struggling with some of those things.
Yeah. The I've struggled with depression or anxiety since high school, and it's something that you don't get rid of. It's similar to alcoholism. It'll be a constant battle or thing that I work through. And the person you're referring to, I went to grade school with, and not middle school, but then high school again, and just such a great guy. And I think that's something that seems like an issue in Omaha. There does seem to be some mental health stuff that happens here. So it's certainly not unique. But I do think that F3 is something that, like I said, I can talk to a therapist all day long, and it's valuable, and you can get a lot out of that. And I actually would suggest a lot of people do that, even if you don't think you have problems, just because having those avenues to talk is huge.
Yep.
But having men that are going through the same things, whether or not you have the same background, especially having men of different ages and different backgrounds and some diversity, allows me and I would have hoped him to have conversations that make that stuff a little bit easier to go through. You're not alone, and F3 is very much a group that embraces that mindset of, as soon as you're in there, if you're an F&G, we're cheering for you first day.
Yeah.
We're getting to know you the first day. You come back, we're talking to you. You don't show up, you're getting some text.
Right. Yeah.
You have all these ways of, we call it accountability, we call it ownership, but the reality is it's love. It's
for sure.
people being positive to each other in a way that can hopefully pick up their spirits, and especially those people that are struggling with very, very hard things in life. It's something that if you're not getting it elsewhere, you can get it from this group, and you will. And a lot of times without even looking for it too hard. So that's been a huge aspect of my F3 journey. And again, that's one of the main reasons I keep coming back. Is it's not just working out, it's that relationship. And my self-confidence is a lot higher than it ever was coming here. So I'm just very, very comfortable. And it's not even confidence in stupid stuff like, oh, I'm faster now, or I think I can jump higher. It's just confidence to be myself. So especially when it's like, I don't know, my son loves Daniel Tiger right now. So I think Daniel Tiger's a good show.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to say that on a podcast right now, when maybe I would have thought 10 years ago, like, oh, that's not cool. You can't say you like a kid's show, but it's, that's stupid. It's okay.
You're watching it with them.
Yeah.
That's a cool damn thing to do. We have some Daniel Tiger going on in our house, and they have some little like songs that you can use to get out of it. So there's like if you get so mad and you want to roar, you take a deep breath and count to 4.
Oh yeah.
And we do that in my house all the time, because we got some short-tempered girls, but I love it. Yeah. It's so cool because like that, I think it's that confidence that is what invigorates or reinvigorates male community leadership, right? Like our society, we have all these guys that are unsure, right? And so we get to, and I was the same way. I was like, I don't really know if I can make wise decisions. I don't really know if anybody likes me or respects me. And so then that's what caused me to end up, just going a path of destruction with drug, alcohol. And I feel like if we can get guys to be confident in who they are, bring who you are to the table, then that just sort of like, it's just this really cool thing. But I would love to hear, you mentioned a little bit, just a journey of sobriety. Talk us through that. Has that been a journey? How's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's something that I've been struggling off and on with since probably the start of college, where I didn't drink a ton in high school. I didn't do too much else in high school, but I started drinking a lot in college, and I was not probably prepared for the amount that I was drinking, or the freedom that I had that came along with college. And so but I didn't realize it was a problem until after college.
Sure.
And I went through some tough situations in life that had me probably drink more than I would have wanted to. So I started realizing, sometimes with the help of others, but it was one of those where I needed to realize it myself. And 5 years ago is when I really had a couple things happen that caused me to kind of snap the line and make it no longer an option. to drink, and for different folks, it can be a huge challenge to not even just want like a sip or something like that. And I'm very lucky that for me it was a cold turkey situation. I couldn't have it in my life, and if I were to keep going along that path, it would have been very obvious set of outcomes. And so it's one that is a daily struggle, but not one where I wake up and I need a drink. It's more that it's just something that's there that if I were to drink, I wouldn't probably stop. And so it's nice having F3, the family support that I got, that I continue to get is the biggest thing. But F3 is just another group of people that are there to support you no matter who you are. And I think that's the confidence that I needed specifically to help myself with alcohol, was that I'm okay being myself without alcohol. And finding groups and finding people that accept you for who you are, no matter how lame or silly you might be, is the support that keeps me going, and in a way that makes it easier. So it's you can do all this stuff, I guess, by yourself, but it's very hard. And having a group that I can go to every single day if I need it is massive, to be able to talk about that stuff and even just admit it. Because then the more I state it, the more it becomes real, the more that I follow it. So that's been, my journey with alcohol. I don't think is, like I said, I don't think it's unique. And I am lucky in the sense that it's not a physical need right off the bat. But it's one that if I didn't have groups like F3, if I didn't have people like the people that are in F3, helping me with that accountability on a regular basis, there's no way I would still be sober. And I don't know if I'd still have a job. I don't know if I would even be a decent person. And so that's a lot of sober negativity and there from podcast.
Oh, kudos, man.
But it's good stuff.
It's hard, like you said, right? Like, and the more you say it out loud, the more real it is. And then you have more people that, like, if they saw you with the drink in your hand, they'd be like, what the heck, man? Like, what's going on? And it's different for everybody. I know, Slow Pitch and I, have this ongoing discussion, right? Cause some guys, need AA or a 12-step program, right? Like that is the only way that's going to work. You get in there, you work the steps, you have a sponsor, and that's your program for life. That's not been my journey. It doesn't sound like that was necessarily your journey. But I also think there's some unique circumstances. Like I'm similar to you in that I didn't lose my job. I did, my rock bottom was really, I think I got really lucky. I didn't get in an accident and kill anybody else or hurt anybody else. I almost lost my marriage, but thankfully I didn't. But I do think there's just a lot of ways that guys can get help. And I think there's a ton of resources in F3. There's a lot of other guys that are also clean and sober and living a better life. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's just one of these things where you see a guy who's so comfortable in his own skin, but has been through a lot, has lived a lot of life, but is also now leading his family well, has a good marriage. You get a son that you're parenting well, watching Daniel Tiger. I love that. I'm tempted sometimes when the kids have a show on to like be on my phone, because you're sort of like, well, this isn't my show. But if you watch it with them and I think it's cool. Yo, Gloom listeners, it's the Plague. And today I'm talking about getting your finances as fit as your physique. Our very own F3 Omaha brother, Jean-Claude, aka Michael Pfluger at Avior Wealth Management, specializes in building personalized financial plans. He understands the journey you walk in life as a man of faith, safeguarding your family and creating a legacy. Jean-Claude is ready to help you plan your finances with intention so that you can live with purpose. And that's just the beginning when you work with the Avior Wealth team. Visit avior.com/F3. That's AVIOR.com/F3 and see how Michael can guide your financial journey today. But talk me through when you think about all of this stuff, and you went to a Catholic high school, right? So I would just be curious, what's your journey been like on that third F piece? Like, where you at, or what was your life like?
Yeah, I was raised Catholic. My dad grew up Catholic. My mom was Methodist, I believe, and she converted to Catholicism so that we were all the same religion. A very stereotypical Catholic upbringing, I would say. And I appreciate the upbringing and everything that it gave me in terms of perspective, especially, high level good and bad type thought processes.
Yeah.
I would say that in college, I actually went to mass daily. So I was fully committed, even kind of as an adult, an impressionable young adult. But I was
That seems rare. Right?
yeah,
Were there
I
a lot
was
of other kids
no
in your class going? Okay.
no, I was at Kansas, so a big public university, and I was going to mass on a daily basis for
Nice.
probably like a year and a half. And it was actually during that time that I realized what I was searching for in that was not necessarily what I was getting out of it.
Mm.
And it was more just it was a slog, and I was just kind of showing up to show up.
Yep.
And there's other things outside of when I wasn't there that I wasn't acting the way that I wanted to. And I realized that my journey or version of religion was more so how I wanted to be as a person, how I wanted to treat other people, treat myself, and especially treat those that I love. So I think that's been more my spiritual religious approach since then, has been more focusing on trying to be a good person, trying to be open-minded when I talk to people who disagree or have different perspectives. And really, especially in my personal relationships, just try to be kind. And I'm saying this like I do it all the time, but I obviously have failures and things like that. But I don't have I don't stick with the formal religious approach right now.
Sure.
But I appreciate people that have that, and I understand where that comes from. But I implement a lot of those things in the way that I interact with people. But it's more of a how I treat people and how I want to go through life than it is necessarily a relationship with a specific religion. But I do believe there's something higher out there, and I don't know that that's necessarily the Catholicism creeping in. I think that's just it's hard to believe all this is here without something like that. But I think that for me, the biggest piece of that is, okay, well, if there is something more, I want to make sure that I'm a good steward of myself and the world that we're in. And so it's a lot about treating others with respect and appreciating their opinions. So I um I I like F3 because you get such a random mix of everything. You have people that don't believe anything. You've got people that are pastors and all walks. And it's been I think that's what I needed for religion too.
Yeah.
So I honestly, even though I don't have a formal one that I necessarily go to right now, I view F3 almost as my formal version. I mean, we have the CNOT, which is absolutely has religious tenets, and hearing the pastor folks talk about their stuff, and then hearing people that don't believe, it's amazing how similar those messages are. Whether or not you're doing it to follow Jesus or being a nice person, or just being a nice person because you think it's right, you get a similar result. So that's a long way of saying that I think F3 has exposure on all these ways, and that's what's cool too, is you can bring any version of your relationship with a higher power or lack thereof, and you're going to be embraced, supported, and exposed to different viewpoints on that.
Yeah, it's so cool because I think, and kind of like you were saying earlier, right, where it's like there is no other space where disagreements happen naturally and like agree to disagree, and and so then I think, at least what I feel like I see or have heard is like, well, I grew up in this religion, I had some questions or disagreements, and I didn't have a space within that religion to go and take those, right? So it's like, well, you either believe what we're saying or get out of here, kind of thing. I don't know. And so then in F3, it's like, the only requirement is it can't be you, right? You can't believe that you're the king of the world. So then as long as we're on the same page there, then I think we're good,
Yeah. I think for me too, it was, obviously all religions preach the really positive aspects.
Yeah.
And then you'll see people within the religion not follow that
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit of a mind game of like, wait a minute. So I think that was helpful for me, is seeing a group where the things that are preached in some of those religions are almost everybody's following, because everybody's just kind, everybody's nice, everybody's welcoming. And I think those are the things that are taught by almost all of the religions, but not necessarily followed. So it's cool to have a group where I can feel like I'm part of a religious experience, but not one that I feel very comfortable in. Is probably the best way
for
to say it.
sure. Yeah. It's interesting too, just organized religion and some of the rules that are created in those spaces where you're sort of like, is that really what the word says? Or, so I didn't grow up going to church, and then just happened to go to church with a friend in high school, and have just had a really cool experience, but went through a time similar to kind of like what you're saying, is like I had to really reevaluate, like, why am I doing this? Because there was a long time I was just checking the box, because honestly, because my wife went to church there and I thought she was hot. So I'm just going to keep, like, what are the requirements I need to meet so that she'll date me, was kind of that was my initial relationship with church. So the whole, like, just examining that. But I would be curious, as you think about too. So in F3, I feel like third F is sort of like the spiritual religion thing, but then also like this idea of service. And you mentioned that's something important growing up. Have you had a chance with a kind of younger family to get involved in the F3, third F stuff, or what's that been?
Not as much as I need to. So it's similar to working out, where it's a decision point, and it's a matter of saying, all right, this Saturday we're going to go and spend our time together and actually do it. So I haven't done as much, but being in Omaha brings back memories of Operation Others, or some of those larger group giving back situations that I was involved in, that I want to get back to. So we do a little bit of that. My wife is always great about donating her time, and we donate some money to some places, but I myself definitely need to jump back into some more of that stuff.
Yeah, something that I think some of the opportunities that we have, your kids have to be a certain age. And so then I always feel like, well, I can't bring them along. But somebody I was talking to last week was just talking about, even if they see you advertising that sort of stuff, then that's really valuable. So I was sort of convicted that, like, because it's easy to give money. Like, that's where we're at, is like, okay, we'll give money to the causes we support, but time is sort of another hot commodity that we just don't have.
Well, and it's funny too, because my son's old enough that he is aware of a lot of stuff. He can talk very well, but so he's starting to see more and like understand the actions that we're both doing. And so it's absolutely something that I want to show him. Here's how you act. And it's not just at your job, or not just with the people that you love. You have to serve the less fortunate, the people that need it. Because if we were in that position, we would want that. And that's honestly the way. And Omaha is nice in that way too, is that it does feel like there's a general environment of giving back that people want to tap into. So just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love it. And the other piece kind of this is leadership, right? So we talk about invigorating or reinvigorating. It's listed two different ways, by the way. That's why I always say both, but it's on the website as one thing, and then free to lead is the other. But anyway, ask khakis if you don't believe. But one of the things that we like to get is just your idea of leadership, and sort of how maybe being a site Q helped develop or grow some leadership capabilities. And then also would love to hear succession planning. So how did that go? What was that process like?
The leadership has always been something that I've appreciated, leaders by example that I've seen in my life, especially when I was younger. So I grew up trying to emulate sort of that style of, if I can't show up and put the work in, or if I can't show up and do something, how can I expect somebody else to do it? And certainly, how can I hold them accountable to something that at least I can't understand? And so that when I was asked to do it by Kickstand, it was not remotely on my radar. I had been going to F3 for, I think, only 2 months. But I needed it. It was the thing that I needed at the time to get going, to show up, because I still think, even with all the benefits that F3 had, I might have found a way to get out, to not show up more often than I wanted to. And that's a big thing with leadership for me, is leading by example, is seeing others show up. And so that was a big part of being a site Q for me was, if I'm going to say yes to this, I need to be here.
Yep.
And so unless it was work related, which happened more than I would have liked, but I was there. The pre stuff I think is really important as a site Q. Again, that leadership, if you're putting in the time, if you're saying yes to it, if you're not showing up to that pre-work, it's okay. But the relationships aren't going to be as valuable. You're not going to have, especially there's F&Gs that do the pre-work sometimes. And if as a site Q, you're not there to help, almost every day there's somebody asking, what's the pre-run route on here again? I can't remember. All those kinds of things. Being able to and capable of answering those questions and confident to answer those questions was something that was important to me. But that was the baseline of really what I approached it with, which is my historical view on leadership.
Yeah.
And the thing that helped me a ton was it was a site that had 2 site Qs. So having Barbed Wire there with me really helped to expose me to his view on leadership. So then when you have that double site Q scenario, you have to appreciate that and also fold in both versions of that. So I thought we did a good job of, I jumped on Twitter right away to try to own that, because I knew Barbed Wire was going to be so good about booking people, because he's out there every single day and has such good relationships with so many guys. So we had a good blended approach, and I think that I'm also just a goofy guy, so just making jokes and trying to keep people comfortable in that environment, especially F&Gs, your first couple times out, it hurts. So having some positivity in the gloom is really important. It's something that I remember the first few workouts that I went to, Fine Print was there.
Oh yeah.
And you can't help but smile when he shows up, and it's stuff like that though. Having those personalities, having Griswold, and you're just excited to see somebody that is going to bring a really positive attitude. I'm not sure I'm on that level, but trying to bring positive energy was a big thing that I learned, and I realized that especially at my work and employment stuff, I had always had kind of a operational or like militaristic type view on leadership, where you listen to the person above you. You do what they say. You don't question it. You just listen. And then they do the same thing. And so, one of the things that has been nice is seeing that not only in F3, but it's peer led. Everyone, no matter your experience, no matter your exposure, can lead. And it's just a different version of leadership. So being open and willing to jump in no matter what the situation is, I think has helped me as a leader to bring in that positive attitude, to stay positive even when I'm hurting myself. Because you want to have that type of mentality and have people show up and be excited to be there, so we can grow the group. There's so many positive benefits. You want as many people as are willing to jump in to be exposed to it. So that was the biggest thing for me, is becoming comfortable with that. And then the next piece was actually asking people Q. Was it's such a small thing and it's really not that bad, but I'm an outgoing person, but I'm very specific in how I'm outgoing. And so the idea of asking people to lead was like, I don't want to make people do that. I don't, and you don't realize until you do it that you're like, oh, everybody wants this. Some of them just need to be asked. And so that was really exciting for me, was learning to be comfortable knowing that I'm not putting people on the spot. I'm not leading in a way that's making them uncomfortable. It's more, hey, here's an opportunity. It's there for you. I'll be here to support you the whole time. If you don't want it, tell me when you're ready. Type deal. So that was a really big growth area for me, was realizing that there's multiple ways to lead, and that there's a lot of positive aspects about all of those. And so having that was a big thing as we book site Qs along the way too, is let's get people with different backgrounds, people with different ages, all these things. And it makes it a more fun site, I think, is having the leadership be a bunch of diverse guys doing whatever they want.
I really appreciate what you shared, and something that so maybe occurred to me, but not really until you said it. And I don't think we've heard anybody else say it's just when you have, so a lot of times the co-site Q thing is seen as like a way to, it just like lightens the load or the burden, right? So you don't have as much to do. But I love what you called out about getting to see how another guy leads through maybe some similar changes or similar scenarios. Like that's adds another really cool leadership aspect to the co-Q stuff.
Well, especially too, you have, guys that have been here for 5-7 years and they know a lot of stuff just about F3, let alone leadership and all these other things. And so it was really cool to have somebody that is 6 years older than me. Who's gone through a lot of the stuff that I'm currently going through.
He's got kids getting married.
Exactly. So you're getting feedback and you have a relationship now with somebody that you can respect, and it helps bring along some of those leadership traits that maybe I had, but I was never tapping into them. And so that was a big help for me for sure.
That's really cool. Did you think it, so you got a Twitter account? Or you
I do have Twitter now. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But
it's probably not. Yeah, not anymore.
F3 made you get a Twitter account. We got to find a better way, guys. So, any advice for site Qs, guys that are maybe taking the flag or guys that are thinking about it? Anything that you throw out there is just something to consider.
I think my perspective is, it's not unique, but I became a site Q I agreed to become a site Q within 2 months of starting, and I was only going twice a week ish.
Okay.
2 to 3 times a week at the beginning. And so for me, the biggest advice is don't worry about what level you're at. Don't worry about where you're at on your journey. Even if you're a couple weeks in, at least be open to the conversation. I think that was the biggest thing is don't say no right off the bat. Don't be definitive about it. And it was a massively positive thing in my life. Even now looking back, even on those, like in the middle of winter when you don't necessarily want to go and you're going back out and it's -20 and again, those are the best workouts too, but it's, that was my initial thought was, how can I get out of this? First thought I had was, how do I say no to this in a way that doesn't make somebody uncomfortable? And, once I was willing to say yes, it was all gas from there. It was awesome. And even the times that are tough, you appreciate them and you appreciate the people that you're going through it with. And, it's a unique experience that is absolutely worth the effort. And in so many ways, it's less effort than you ever think it could be. But you get so much more out of it than you ever think you would. So that's my biggest piece of advice is just be open to it, no matter how long you've been around, no matter what you've been doing, no matter what your fitness level is. We have guys, no matter what their fitness background is, that have been site Qs and they do just as good of a job as, the fittest guy we have. So that's my main piece of advice. But then the other one that I've enjoyed is just talk to everybody. Because again, perspectives that you get and the exposure that you get to people with different backgrounds has been really fun. Like, again, I'm talking to people. I don't even talk to my neighbors really. I hope I'm polite, but I just pleasantries and move on. But with F3, there's something about it that you want to just go talk to somebody. So I would encourage everybody to go to coffee, go and meet guys more than just the beatdown. Because even if you don't become a site Q, that's how you build those relationships. That's how you get the energy to keep coming back for yourself. You want to be a better person. You want to be a better husband, a better everything.
That's golden. It's funny, right? Because when you first get into F3, you show up and you don't know any better, right? And so then you think like, well, I don't know that guy, so I can't go talk to him. And so what I love is, because it's a good reminder to me, is when you see either a site Q or guy leading a workout, or even just somebody going around and just giving guys fist bumps, saying good morning to everybody, because that reminds me that's like, okay, I need to be. Sometimes I can be grumpy, and I don't always wake up as sort of like the happy plague. I sometimes wake up and I'm mad at the world. But something I would be curious as you think about your story, and something that popped into my head, right, is like, if fast forward a few years from now, your son's listening to this, anything that maybe we didn't cover that you left out, anything you would want to share that you want guys to know, sort of as part of you, part of your journey, something that you've learned from?
I think the thing about me is that I try to be very open, but I do struggle with anxiety and those thought processes. So I think the message is still what I'm learning is that you're constantly learning, you're constantly figuring out your life, your relationships with others. And so to my future son, if you will, yeah, I think the great thing about F3 and just having relationships like this, because it doesn't necessarily have to be F3, but F3 offers just such a great environment to do it on a regular basis and be consistent with it, is put that effort out there with yourself, be your authentic self, and be okay with that, and know that even when you get some negative feedback from people, they're probably just people that are going through their own thing.
Yeah.
And finding a group like this and putting yourself out there will always be worth it. You're gonna get negative feedback sometime. You're gonna get some of that, but that would be the thing that I would leave everybody with is that F3 has made me more comfortable being outgoing again in that way, where I'm a confident person in general, but I'm not always gonna go up and talk to a stranger.
Yeah.
And this has validated and then some my willingness to do that, and it's made me even more willing to do it, which helps me be a better leader, helps me be a better all those things again. So that put yourself out there and don't let self-doubt or some of those negative things that can creep into your mind kind of overtake you, where this group was going to accept you no matter what. They might make funny or make jokes about some stuff, but it's all all very healthy. I think I saw an article or read an article about I didn't read it.
Yeah.
Somebody told me about an article where
AI
it was that male relationships specifically, the more that they rib each other, they found the closer those men tend to be.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm not sure how factual or any of that is, but I think there is some validity that when I'm more comfortable around somebody, I'm willing to make jokes or say stuff. So I think that how I've acted over the course of this the last 2 years, and how comfortable I'm at coffee to talk or even at a workout now, is kind of that visualization or the reality of the confidence that F3 has given me to be myself again. Because it's not like I said, I'm confident, but I'm confident more in my authentic self than I was prior to F3.
That's really cool. And hopefully that's a gift we can keep giving away, right? When I think about giving away, right, we're inviting guys to F3, but ultimately, like, that's the thing, right? That I wish every guy would just be, because that's how we have better communities, right? That's how we lead our families better. Is if you know who you are and you can lead from that place, which is super cool. Where we like to sort of land or end, just thinking about what you're going through now, just life today. When we see out there in the gloom, what's something we could sort of ask you about or follow up with you on, encourage you about, support you through, anything come up in that space?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that one's super easy, is consistency. So
okay.
I since the flag pass, I've struggled a little bit to get back, and not even just F3, just fitness in general. I'm sort of being lethargic, and but my work is suffering because of it. I found that, when I talk to my wife, I'm probably shorter than I want to be on explaining myself or even having just a basic conversation. And so I think that's where I need my help now. So what's great is I get that just by showing up. But that's the encouragement that I need right now. And I think that, hearing some other guys talking in gloom, that consistency is something that a lot of us go in and out on, but definitely for me, that's where I'm struggling right now. I need to get back on, not even from a fitness aspect, but I can see the
kind of spilling
my life. Yeah, exactly. My life is better when I'm consistent with this.
So is that a text? Like, is a text message helpful? Like, hey, meet me here tomorrow.
Mainly pictures. No, texts are good. I deal really well with passive aggressive comments to my face too. So,
Okay. Yeah. Got it. No, I love it. Well, this has been great, and just appreciate your story. I think it's so cool. All right, we'll do a little name rama. I'll start us off. Brandon Lee Hardy, 39, The Plague.
The Plague. Scott Davis, 39, anonymous.
Anonymous. And what do we do? Do you have a call sign or what's?
Some people go in and out with who.
Who? Oh, yeah, like anonymous who. Okay.
But anything,
Nice.
no respect is always good.
No. Fine print owns the.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, brother.